Hello again, my name's Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and this design is called Enchanted Wings, and if you'd like to see how I've designed this quilt, please continue watching. So a few of you contacted me via YouTube and asked if I would share my design process with you, and that's something I'm more than happy to do. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to do, because if you're struggling with something and someone tells you, oh that's easy, then that's really annoying. But there are some skills that you can acquire that will make the process easier, and I've just finished designing this quilt. I've called it Enchanted Wings. It's not a very original name because the material I've used was a fat quarter bundle, or a few fat quarter bundles by Bethany Salt, and that's called Enchanted Wings, so it's not an original title. However, I think it suits it beautifully, and this video will share with you my process from the start to the end of the design, and if that's something that you might be interested in, please continue watching. So I just use an ordinary A4 exercise book that's squared inside to design my quilts. So this one is 7mm, and inside it's just squared graph paper, and then I have an array of pencils, a ruler, sharpener and eraser, and that's it, ready to go. And this is the inspiration for this quilt, and I think they are enchanting. So we have these beautiful beetles. There are 5 pieces in each fabric bundle. I've bought 4 fat quarter bundles. So we have the beetles, and then we have this lovely, almost like a violet background with butterflies and light blue sprigs of foliage. And then we have a light blue background with a variety of pinks and purples and green or yellow. And then we have a deep blue background with a pale blue, almost like a fern leaf. And then the last one is a coral pink or salmony pink background with a pale blue, the deep blue and some small dots. And I've bought half a yard of the corally background. I'm thinking of going bold and black. It's a nice deep black colour, very rich, so I think that might make everything bounce. There is some green that I may or may not use, I'm not sure yet, depends on the design. So let's have a look at the design. So I designed this quilt earlier in the year, and it's called the Paradise Quilt, and every time I design a quilt there are decisions to be made. You have to decide, you know, your main motif and then the smaller ones and where they go and what colours they'll be, and because of all these choices that we make, there is always a what if quilt. So I've looked at this quilt and there's a couple of things I thought, well, I wonder what that would look if I'd have changed my mind and chosen a different option. And so this quilt that I'm going to design today is roughly based on this. There are a few elements I want to keep, but I'm going to change a few too. Obviously the colour is completely different. So let's have a look how we'll go about doing that. Well, I always begin with a blank page, and in my mind each of these squares represents a 3-inch square of fabric. Now those 3-inch squares of fabric can also come in an array of designs. So sometimes I'll just have a plain 3-inch square, sometimes it's a half square triangle. I might have a 4-patch that would measure 3-inch complete, and there are variations on the 4-patch. I might have an hourglass, I might have a mini pinwheel, or it could be a 9-patch and variations of that. But all of these will still measure 3 inches, but the design possibilities are enormous. And I'm always working in 3-inch squares and multiples of 3-inch squares. So I will put this on my community page. So one 3-inch square obviously will measure 3 inches. 2 3-inch squares put together measure 3-inch by 5.5, or if you put 4 together it would be a 5.5-inch squares. So this little chart shows multiples of 3-inch squares joined, always allowing for your 1/2-inch seam allowance. So the size of the quilt I'm going to work on will be 24 3-inch squares by 24 3-inch squares. So that will be a 60.5-inch quilt without a border. I'm going to put this on my community page for you if you want that. So at the moment I've put the design into 4 quadrants, and I'm calling this one Enchanted Wings. And the first thing I'm going to do is to create a central motif. It's going to be different from the Paradise quilt, but I'll block that in now and I'll show you that. So in one of my design books I have this image. I was playing around with perhaps a sunflower, just doodling, and I haven't made a quilt, but I think I'm going to use that central part for this quilt. And the fabric I'm going to use is black, the pale blue, beetle in the centre for the variable star, and then the pink and the 2 blues on the outside. So I'm going to use this very deep purple, and that will represent the beetle fabric with a black background. So far in the centre of this grid I just have the purple variable star, and I'm going to represent this coral salmon background fabric with this pink. And so I'm just following the points out on this star and then taking them up level from the corners, and it's going to be the pink and then the 2 blue background every other shape. So for this blue background I'm going to use a pale blue, so I'm going to alternate these pink points with the blue on blue all over design. So that will look like that. It reminds me a little bit of a chrysanthemum flower, very spiky, or an aster. So now I'm going to follow that shape all the way around, and that will be the fabric that I used for that part, and I'm going to use this purpley colour to represent that. So I've used 4 out of the 5 lines of fabric in that central piece. I haven't yet used this beautiful butterfly, and I really like the way that the butterfly and the coral work together, so I'm thinking I'm going to use those together. And I also like the way this black works against this pale blue. There is black tendrils to some of these flowers, so I'm thinking I might put black surround around the central motif, but I also might incorporate some squares in the green to tie some green in. So one of the things I really liked about this Paradise quilt was the way that these motifs worked around each other, and I think I could have made more of a feature than I did in the original quilt. And so the way I can do that is to make them all the same, and I think I might use the butterfly and the pink coral here. What I'm going to do is put these motifs surrounding the central one, and we'll have a look and see what that looks like. So I'm using this purpley pink, or magenta I suppose it is, colour to represent the butterfly. So there's 4, and now I'm going to put another 4 in just to give you that circular movement. So I've added the pink now, and if you look carefully you can see it sort of makes a cross shape. Now I can fit 4 more here, 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and that will give you that circular movement that I'm after. So my next question is, do I like this fabric combination enough for it to feature that much in that quilt? I think I do. Like I say, there's always choices to be made, so I'm going to add those now and we'll have a look and see what that looks like. Well, I'm very happy with that. I think that will look lovely, and I love the way that this is all connecting. And I've used all of the 5 samples now in the Fat Quarter bundle, so now all I'm going to be doing is looking for connecting shapes to link these around, and I'm going to start on these 4 sides. So now you can see I've added some on-point squares, so these are half square triangles, and these surround the main motif and link these, and this is in the beetle fabric, and touching on the sides is the pink. So I like the way they work together, so that's that. And now in the centre there's another on-point square, and I'm going to bring this blue out and use that. So the centre on-point square will be in this blue, and I think they work really well together. And I've just made the decision now to add the green, so I'm going to put black, solid black, around that central motif, and then I'm going to add this little green 4 patch in each corner. So one of the lovely things about designing your own quilts is that suddenly something occurs, like this little 4 patch here. That is really quite exciting, and so now I'm going to add little 4 patches in all of these corners just because I can, and I think it will look lovely. So that's my next job. So now I've brought out some of the black. I haven't put big swathes of darkness together because I think that would be too overpowering, and so I'm looking now at this little gap between these 2 stars. You can just make out there's a square and 2 half square triangles I've just pencil lined in, and that would run around the whole of that black area, and I'm looking to put that in blue, so that blue there would begin to come out. What I'm trying to do at this point is look for a good balance of colours to make sure that I'm using everything everywhere. So I think I'll bring that blue into a line there, and then we'll see what we'll do next. So that's looking nice. So that blue's coming out now, and it's balancing up with the pink. That pink was quite overbearing, but now these other colours are coming around it. It's balancing out nicely. So now I've got these corners and what to do with those. So I've just marked a pencil line here, a 6 square by 6 square, including that little 4 patch. And what I think I might do there is to bring some of this centre in. So another star would fit nicely in there, and then I'd have to try and think of a way to connect. And there's already lines here that might guide me down. That would be a possibility. But if I put that in first of all, we'll have a look and see. So for the corner motifs, I'm looking to combine these 2 fabrics. They haven't been combined yet, to put them there, and I'll do that in each corner. So I'm loving this green, the lightness that it brings against the black. And now I'm thinking I'll do something slightly different from these stars, and I will take out another point, and over the blue floral I'll put the blue leaf, and over the pink I'll put the butterfly. We'll have a look and see what that looks like. I think that looks lovely. So that's that corner now, and I'm feeling a little bit tired, so I think I'm going to leave it for this evening. There are possibilities that are offering themselves up, but I think I'll be able to make a better decision tomorrow when I'm not so tired. Well, it's the next morning, and as you can see, I've completed these corner motifs, and you might also see there's a lot of green, messy, blurry bits down here, and that's because I couldn't walk away last night. I kept playing, but I was too tired. So there's a lesson for you to learn. Walk away. So I'm looking at the overall design now, and there is a calmness in repetition. And if you look here, there's a blue on point square, and then there's the purple, which is the beetle fabric. And I think I could put those along here. So we'll have another line joining all of these together, and it will be repeated out there. I did contemplate putting a different green, adding some more green along there, but I think that would work better. Like I say, there's always a what if quilt, but for this one I'm going to add those on point squares. We'll have a look and see what that looks like. So I've added a black arrowhead point on each side of that star adjacent to the pink, so that's echoed up there, and then next to that is the blue on point square, which I've put there, and then next to the blue on point square is the beetle fabric, which I've repeated there. So here we have the butterfly and the pale blue, so we've got the butterfly and the pale blue, and that sits nice against the beetle fabric, which will be an on point square, and then we have a blue on point square. So I think when that's all surrounded by black, solid black, that will work really well. So I'm happy now with that. So I've put the black next to those pink arrowheads all the way around, so I'm just going to continue that out now, and we'll see what that looks like. Well, I've added the black around the on point squares all the way around, and that now has all of these different rhythms. So you've got the blue connecting here, then you've got the beetle and the blue, and then the same here. So now how do we finish it? Again, there's lots of possibilities, and sometimes, little tip I have, because I'm working so close to it, it's hard to see patterns. if you just hold this up so that you're looking at the reflection of it in a mirror, sometimes things jump out at you that you don't necessarily see when you're working eye to paper. So now I'm going to just sit back and have a little look at the possibilities. Well, I think one of the things that you need to do when you're designing your own quilts is just to let your eye wander and to be open to possibilities, looking for patterns. Don't try and force anything, just let it scroll over the page. And I've suddenly noticed that in this corner where this blue joins around, it's almost like a tulip shape, and I could repeat that in the bottom corner, and that would take it to the end of the quilt. So if I was to add that to all of these 4 middle motifs, it changes it from this one, but it just looks part of a beautiful pattern. So I think I'm going to go there next. And that little tip about looking in the mirror at your design just to check for balance and colour is also great for auditioning fabric. So often I hold up swatches of fabric and look in the mirror at the reflection, because again, that distance enables you to see things that you miss close at hand. I know lots of people take photos and look at the grayscale for tonal values, but sometimes you just like to see at a distance with a clear eye, and a mirror is great for that. Well, we're almost there now. I've added those green and shaded that in the dark solid black. And now I think I'll bring out another 4 patch here and there. So we'll have these 4 patches in each corner that look the same, and it'll lighten up this dark patch. Well, I've just reached the completion part, and I've got this piece of black that is left, but I think that looks a little bit heavy to have that shape all in black. But if you see here the way those green go down to the corners, and then if you look in this corner where this blue tulip is, there is another 4 patch there of green, so I could put another 4 patch of green there, and that will help to break up that block. So I'm going to do that next. So that's it, it's complete now, and I have got that block of black there, but I can live with that. That's not too much. I think that works really well, and there isn't anything I can put there to alter that. However, remember I spoke about the what if quilts? Well, at the moment, pale blue here, these on point squares, these tulips, and these points in this star are all in that fabric, which is really lovely. But now I think I might change the tulips. There's a lot of that blue together. I'll change those tulip shapes for this, which I think will look equally as nice. So that will be in this paler purple. Yes, I think that works better. That being in the purple, that'll now give this blue more of a focus, so that'll pop more. So from this, we've reached this. I think it's complete, and I can start cutting up the fabric. We'll have a go and see what it looks like sewn up. So that's it. That's my quilt design process demystified. I know when you first see a design, you look at it and you think, well, where do you begin? Well, that's how I begin. Not always that way. Some days I will start from a different process altogether. And if there was a particular quilt design that you were interested in, and I haven't covered any aspects of that in this video, please write in the comments, ask me any questions, and I'll answer them if I can. And I'm going to put the details on my community page. Now, a few people again have asked about how to find my community page. So if you go to my homepage and you look along the top of the bar, you'll see a link that says community page. Tap that and it will open up some letters, and I will put pictures of all the details of this quilt on there. It's all free of charge, don't worry, there's no hidden costs or anything like that. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and share it if you think it might be of interest to somebody else. And the next video I post will be the details of the blocks, how I will construct this quilt, and we'll see how far we get. That's my aim. So take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.